Welcome back, everybody. Thank you again for visiting me this week virtually. This is lesson 3 for module 1. This is our general music. This is for everybody. Please let me know, how's it going for you? How are you doing? How are you doing musically, but how are you doing as a family, as a student? What is it that you need from me? How can I help? Please remember to take care of you and your family first. And as I've said in the last 2 videos, remember that I will be here. You will be back at Grey Wolf eventually. And so please remember that school will be here and there's nothing we can do, or excuse me, there's nothing that we cannot do later than that you would need to do now. Okay, so just take it easy. Make sure that you are taking care of you and your family first. With that, let's get into it. This is an exciting lesson. I'm really excited about this lesson because this is our music staff. The music staff, the best way I can describe it is that this is where you really start to see music being created. And we've been talking about beats, that steady, recurring, never-ending pulse. We've been talking about rhythm, the organization of those sound lengths and how we understand it. And now we're going to be talking about note names and really putting identification to those pitches that we hear and sing and play. But we have a visitor, and here he is. This is Mr. Music. Mr. Music, how are you? Hello, I'm Mr. Music. Mr. Music, you sound like you're from Australia. Oh, well, yeah, I'm from Australia. I'm here to join you for this time. Looking forward to it. Well, Mr. Music, we're glad to have you here too. With that, Mr. Music, let's go ahead and get into our learning targets. Our learning targets are going to be the same as the last lessons for those last 2, but the first one is going to be looking at the major components of the music staff. Before we were looking at steady beat and rhythm, now we're looking at the major components of the music staff. What are they? How do they come together? What is their structure? What are the principles that guide that? And with that, we're also looking at our essential questions, and our essential questions are also different. How can understanding how to correctly identify note names help me understand how my music pieces melodically fit together? And we're looking in that word melody from where we get melodically. Melodically comes from melody, and melody is nothing more than the tune. It's the tune of the piece. It's what we recognize. So just remember that it is not something complicated. And then can we apply what we're learning to our recorder and Orff karate pieces? The musical alphabet. Here we have our musical alphabet. Let's go through it. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H. Oh, wait a second. You know, the musical alphabet only has... we have a danger zone. We have a problem. Because the musical alphabet does not have the same letters as our regular alphabet. The musical alphabet only has those 7 letters. So let's go through them real quickly. Here we go. So we have A, B, C, D, E, F, G. That's it. That's all we have. We have nothing more. We have nothing less. And the thing about the musical alphabet is that we create patterns because we repeat that musical alphabet. So if I go ahead and write out the musical alphabet myself, I might go A, B, C, D, E, F, G. And when I get to this point right here, I start over and I go A, B, C. And this continues on for infinity. It goes all the way up. And then we can go the other way. So let me go ahead and get a little space here. In fact, let's go ahead and just start again. So I'll start in the middle. A, B, C, D, E, F, G. And then we continue on A, B, all the way down, or excuse me, all the way up. And then we can go down as well, just like we went here with A. We start back here with A, and then the next letter going backwards would be G, and then F, and then E, all the way down. So the best way to think about this is that as we go left, the pitch of the note goes down. As we go left, the pitch of the note goes down. And remember, that pitch is that how high or low something is as far as the sound. And then as we go right, the pitch goes up. As we go right, the pitch goes up. As we go left, the pitch of the note goes down. As we go right on the musical alphabet, the pitch goes up. Now, if you can remember that, then you're going to be in really good shape for the next thing. And the next thing, dun, 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 we're introducing the music staff. Now, what I want you to notice right off the bat is that this music staff, this music staff only has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 lines. And then we also have, within those lines, we have 1, 2, 3, 4 spaces. So, pop quiz, hot shot. How many lines are on the music staff? 3, 2, 1, go. If you answered 5, you're correct. Pop quiz, hot shot. How many spaces are on the music staff? 3, 2, 1, go. There you go. Nice job. The answer is 4. All right, so with that, we have a few things that we're going to add to our music staff that we use in music. The first thing is called the G clef. Now, it's called a G clef because of the fact that it is on this second line, and that second line is going to have a name, and I bet you can figure it out from right here. I'm giving you a big clue what the name of that line is. But the clef is our identification. It IDs what it is. So it's our ID. It IDs what the note names, where the note names are going to start and what they're going to be, okay? And then we have our line, and you'll see that we have our whole note there, and it is right on the line. Notice that our whole note is not looking like this, nor is it looking like that. It's right in the middle. That's really important because as we are writing on our staff is going to get crowded with many notes, and we're going to want to make sure that we write clearly so that we can play that clearly, or whoever plays it can play it clearly. So just as we have our line notes, we have our space notes as well, and our space notes will look like that. And just like we did with our line notes, we do not make big space notes. We make sure that our space notes are not going above. They're going right in the middle. So neatness counts when you are reading and when you are playing as a musician. Neatness counts. So with that, oh, Mr. Music is back. Very fancy. Oh, Mr. Music, you changed where your accent's from. I thought you were from Australia. Well, no, and this time I'm from Romania. Romania. Well, in America we call it Romania, but no, Romania. This is the place of Count Dracula in Transylvania. Oh, I didn't know that. Very interesting. Well, very fancy. Well, thank you, Mr. Music. Always glad to have a fan. Mr. Music, do you want to help me up with the next part? Yes, let's go. Mr. Music is going to teach us the different line notes. So remember our musical alphabet. Let's go ahead and review real quick. So it's A, B, C, D, E, F, and what was that? G. There it is. Good. And remember that it goes on. It just repeats. Just repeats, and then it goes down, and it repeats. If we can remember that, then we're going to be in really good shape as Mr. Music is teaching us the names of our line notes. So meet the line notes. Here we go. This first note, Mr. Music, what is it called? Mr. Music says that is E. E. Thank you, Mr. Music. How about the next note, Mr. Music? Mr. Music says that is G. Thank you, Mr. Music. What about the next note, Mr. Music? Mr. Music says that is B. Thank you, Mr. Music. How about the next note? Mr. Music says that is D. Thank you very much, Mr. Music. How about the next one? Mr. Music finally said that the next note is F. Now, Mr. Music, it's great, but you keep on taking the answers away. It's hard to remember what they are. Well, how about this? Interesting. Mr. Music, can you go ahead and read that for me? Eagles go bald during flying. Interesting. So if we go ahead and we use Mr. Music's little memorization, eagles go bald during flying. Ah, I see, Mr. Music. That's pretty clever. Yes, so that's very clever. Well, Mr. Music, now you're from Italy. Mr. Music, make up your mind. All right. Mr. Music, how about I go ahead and go through the space notes? That took a long time. Well, I think actually the best way to do it is just to remember F, A, C, E, my face. Just remember my beautiful face. Pretty good, Mr. Music. You took it right from me. So let's see. Oh, it's a little out of order, Mr. Music, but I think we can still do it. So our first line is F. Excuse me, my first space is F. Our second space is A. Our third space is C. And our fourth space is E. And that spells face. All right. Pretty good, Mr. Music. Do you think, Mr. Music, that we can spell some words with these note names? Yes, I think we can. All right, so Mr. Music, here's a word. How about you guys? Can you guys do it? Mr. Music is going to stay quiet for a little while. I'll give you 5 seconds. See if you can figure it out. Maybe you can write out your own staff. Okay, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. So let's talk through this. So we know that our first line is at the very bottom of our staff, and our top line is at the top of our staff. And then we have our 5 lines. And if you recall from what Mr. Music just shared with us, our memorization of eagles go bald during flying. Now, Mr. Music isn't around anymore. He's taking a break. And so I can also remind you that perhaps you want to use Elvis's Guitar Broke Down Friday. Or you might say, every girl buys designer fashion, or every good boy does fine, or every good boy deserves fudge. Any of those will work. But I like eagles go bald during flying because, well, it's just fun. So if you can remember that, any of those, then you will definitely have figured out that this is E, this is G, because it's on the second line, eagles go. And then this is the same note, and that's G as well. And that word spells egg. Let's see if we are correct. E, G, G. Egg. Nice job. Okay, let's do the next one. Give you 5 seconds. Here is Here are the notes. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Let's work this through. Just as we had our notes on the line, now we have our notes on the spaces, and we have 1 space, 2 spaces, 3 spaces, 4 spaces. And we remember from Mr. Music, he shared with us that our names of our spaces spell out the word F-A-C-E. And you know what? We just figured out our word right there, I think, didn't we? Because this right here would be for A, this right here would be for C, and this right here would be for E. So according to our work here, the word should be ace. Let's see how we did. A, C, E. Awesome job. Fantastic. I bet you can do another one. This one I'm going to give you about 10 seconds on because it's a little harder. Here we go. 10, 9. Remember where that first note is at. 7. Think about how we are supposed to read these, and we'll talk about that with this example because it gets a little confusing. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Let's get into it. So when we read, we want to read from just like we would a book, but in this case, instead of starting way up here, we start with the note that is furthest to the left. So this happens to be furthest to the left. So we'll start with that note there. And then basically we do a zigzag. So this is the first note, this is the second note, the third note, and the fourth note. And so that's what we're trying to figure out. Remember that we are looking at our lines and spaces. And this here we have a combination, don't we? And so we need to figure out what that is. So if we go ahead and put in, and this is not cheating, this is using the tools that Mr. Lanning has given us. Remember we have our 5 lines. And remember we have our 4 spaces. Remember that the first are at the very bottom of the staff and the top ones are at the top of the staff. And so if we recall from earlier examples, and it's never a problem of doing this, we can see that this first line actually is E. And so we've actually named that already before. And then we can also see that the next line would be G. So eagles go, okay, so this must be B, you think? Well, then what is this one way up here? Well, this is where we have to remember our spaces. And we look here, there it is, the 4th space. Maybe it's B something. Now, here we had A, C, E. What was that first space? What did we spell? Oh, we spell face. And so now we have the word beef. Let's see if that's correct. I bet you. Yep, it looks like it is. Nice job. And our last word, here it is. This one is all over the place, but I'm sure we can figure it out. You got a total of 5 seconds on this one, but I'll go real slow. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Let's get into it. So, if we recall from what we learned, we know that our lines are E, G, every good boy does fine, or eagles go bald during flying, or every girl buys designer fashion. Although if you're my daughter, you probably don't buy designer fashion, but it's a way to remember them. So we know right there that that's F. So let's go ahead and write that in there. And then what's this one? Oh, right there, we know that that's E. Remember, we're reading in our zigzag pattern. So let's go ahead and mark that there, zigzag. And What's our next one? So if we look, we see it's on the fourth space, very top. That's E. And then our fourth line, Eagles. Go, ball, during. There it is, right there. So what is the word? F-E-E-D. Sounds like feed to me. Let's see if that's correct. F-E-E-D. Awesome job, you guys. Mr. Music, are you impressed? Oh, yeah, I am totally impressed. Mr. Music, where are you from now? Well, it sounds like you're from Germany, Mr. Music. Oh, Mr. Music left the building. So, ladies and gentlemen, here is an actual piece of music. This is from our Recorder Karate book. And remember, this is where the rubber meets the road. This is where we are really starting to mark up our music. Here's my goal. My goal is that you have the names of our notes. So I'm going to write names. And then our counting. You know what? I'm going to use a less fat pen. So names and counting on every piece of music that you do. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to go ahead and put that in together. You can simply watch me. I'm going to model for you what I would like for your music to look like. And the goal will be that by the end of our time, you'll know exactly what it is that your music should look like. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and put in our note names. And I'm going to put in my note names just below the notes. Now I want to let you know that even though this stem is pointing down and this stem is pointing up, they're the same kind of note. So these are both half notes. Here's the rule about that. The rule is that as you reach that third line, then your stems start pointing down because it's easier to read. So anything that is under the third line, your stem points up. And that's the rule. I've never really shared that with students before, and students always ask. So this is an opportunity for me to make sure that I share this time. Okay, so our third line, let's go ahead and put in let's just go ahead and create our own little staff here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And let's go ahead and put in our note names on our staff. E, G, B, D, F. And I'll go ahead and fix my B. There we go. And then we'll go ahead and put in our names for our lines as well. F, A, C, E. That is not cheating. That is using our resources. I am always okay with you doing that. So now we just need to match them up, don't we? So we know that our first note name is our third line, so that's B. Our next note name is on the second space, there it is. So that's A. And then our note name after that is on the second line. So that would be G. There it is. Now you'll notice that in music, this happens a lot. You'll notice that there's a pattern here that gets repeated right there. And so rather than try to figure it out again, let's go ahead and just use our pattern. There it is, B-A-G. And then we're going to move our eyes down to the second line. We're going to fill that in. So our second line starts on the second, our second line starts on this note starts on the second line of the staff. Kind of funny. And it looks like we got G all the way through. So for now, we're going to go ahead and just write G in there. G, G, G. Pardon my G's. You know what? I'm going to do that again because I want to make sure I model this right. So G, 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 G. And then you notice that we go to the second line, A, or second space, excuse me, A, A, A. And then, interesting, what do we have here? We have another repeat, don't we, of that same beginning pattern. B, A, G. Excuse me. Well, there we go. I'm going to go ahead and erase this here. Try not to erase the rest of those. Okay, and now we're going to go ahead. So we can check that we have done our counting. No, I'm sorry. We've done our note names. Now we just need to do our counting. So this is an opportunity for review, isn't it? So let's go ahead and go to a new page. Oh. Let's go to a new page. And let's remind ourselves real quickly that when we have our time signature, the top number of our time signature tells us the number of beats per measure, BPM, and the bottom number, when it is a 4, means that the quarter note, which is the one that looks like this, it's got the filled in note head and then the stem, that's going to be 1 beat. Okay, so to remind us the number of beats per measure, so in this case there's going to be 4 beats per measure, and each of those beats is going to be a quarter note that gets 1 beat. Had a bit of a fluke, but I fixed it. So here we have our completed work, and so let's go ahead and put our counting in now. So here we go. So we know that we start on beat 1, and the first note is a half note, so that's going to be 2 beats. So 1, 2. The next note is a half note, 3, 4. And let me go ahead and write that again so it's more neat. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then we know the next one is also a half note, so we start on beat 1 because we have this right here. We have our bar line, and our bar line means to start over a counting. And remember, we have 4 beats in a measure. And then we have 2 beats of rest because we have a half rest. And then we have beat 1, beat 2, that's a half note, 3, 4. And then we have beat 1, beat 2, 3, 4. And then we have our next part. We go right down. If you're curious about how this works, then we basically just go right down, just like when we read, we go down to the next line. And so the next line starts on beat 1, and these are quarter notes, so each one gets a beat. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then we start over. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then we finish it out. 1, these are half notes, each 2 beats. And then our last measure, 3, 4. So this is what I'm expecting for your pieces. You have your note names, and then you have your counting. It is okay to write out a staff on your own so that you know those note names, but eventually you're going to have these down by heart. In another video, I'm going to actually show you a trick with your that you can use for review with your without using any paper. Using your own hand to figure out what's on a staff. Perhaps you've seen it before, but regardless, it's going to help. Now, I had wanted to go through this next one, which is a yellow belt piece. That was a white belt piece. But I think I'm going to save that and go on to the rest of this lesson. Maybe I'll do this one in the next lesson. But let's move on. So for review, remember the names of our lines are eagles, go, bald, during, flying, E, G, B, D, F. And for our spaces, F, A, C, E. Remember 1, our first line in space is at the very bottom of the staff. Let's get a different color. 1. And our top line is at the top of the staff. And as we go up, the notes get higher. As we go down, the notes get lower. Okay, and that goes for our spaces as well. The first space is at the bottom of the staff, and the top space is at the top of the staff. And as we go up the staff, the notes go higher. As we go down the staff, the notes go lower. Now, in addition to that, there is this wonderful video that's done called the Treble Clef Stave and Pitch. And I don't want to confuse you because the word stave, if you can see, there it is. While in the video, the word is used, that's used as stave. In America, we call that staff. And this video comes from the United Kingdom. But he does a really great job. I'm just going to play a little bit of it for you. But I will put that in my resources as well. So here we go. Oh, let's try again.
So we've learned that music has long and short sounds. But I'm sure you're aware that music also has higher and lower sounds. The pitch of a note tells us how high or low that note is. We show pitch by using a stave, a group of 5 lines and 4 spaces. Notes can be written on any line or in any space. Here's what notes look like when they're on the lines. And here's what they look like when they're in the spaces in between the lines.
So he does a really wonderful job, and he's got a series of these videos. And remember, I'm always looking for how can I support you as you're working in this whole process. So please let me know how this was for you. Please go ahead and take the short poll at the end of this. Let me know if there's anything that you would like me to go over that I did not go over. And as always, I just want to again say thank you to all of you for taking the time to learn with me.